I think when you look at sort of welfare provision and should we kind of provide for ourselves or kind of wait for the state to help us, I think it's more important that we should kind of look after ourselves first if we can. So try and get a job that pays, or kind of live your life according to what you can and can't afford. And then if the state is there to help you when things go wrong, if you suffer sickness, or like if you're a child and you lose your family and your parents, or when you get older especially, I think, yeah, there should be some welfare for you. But I think the way we pay for it and everything has to change. I think we're only getting older, and we need to kind of rethink how we actually pay for the welfare. Do we pay for it more as a younger generation, or do we kind of pay for it more out of our wages when we start earning, rather than assuming that the state's going to pay when we do actually get old? So it's difficult, but I think you should do all you can yourself and then use the state only and when you really need it. I think when you look at unemployment and benefits available to those unemployed and how they should get back into work, I think unemployed people should be entitled to benefits if they've just suddenly lost a job. Sometimes people need income to pay rent, pay bills. Society doesn't just kind of stop demanding everything from you just because you've lost a job. So you do need some support then. But I think after a certain period of being unemployed and maybe not finding the job you quite want, maybe after a month or 2 months, you should start looking at taking what's available, any sort of job, from like kind of remedial labour through to anything. I think you should take it. Otherwise, it's going to reflect bad on you when you try and get a proper job if there's a big gap in your employment. Why did you not do something? And it builds you confidence if you're at least working. You have that routine back again. At least you're doing something, and you don't get trapped in that whole kind of unemployment syndrome of just being kind of quite depressed and down. At least you're doing something. Competition is quite good in the workplace. I think it encourages people to work harder. It makes people value their job a lot more. If you know that if you don't perform, or if for whatever reason you don't fulfill your role, there is someone out there who can replace you straight away. So it kind of encourages you to work harder. The company values you more, whoever you work for. And it's just like generally just a force to keep you motivated, I think. And you also learn from competition. You learn from the people around you, people in other jobs. And I think there's nothing wrong with a bit of competition in the workplace. I think when you look at employment and workers and the freedom that companies have over them, it's difficult to say where it works. I mean, you look around the world, and in America, where companies are free to almost do what they like with employers in terms of hiring, firing, and wages, industry seems to be much more successful. Employees are much more motivated and work harder, whereas sometimes in somewhere like the UK, where to even be fired from a job is very difficult because you have so much protection by law, people get trapped into kind of being lazy and things at work because they know they can't be fired. I think it probably is better for companies to have a lot more freedom. I think a good company will always value its employee and will do the best that's in the interest of the employee. And if you're a kind of a good employee, you won't work for a bad company. You will always try and work for a good company because you know they'll look after you, and they'll hire you because they know that you'll work hard for them. And it always works best just to let people get on freely. I don't think you can say that income should be more equal. I think you start going into realms of communism and socialism and forms of society that have proved never to work. But I think there are other ways to incentivize people than just throwing money at them. And it depends what job you're doing and what kind of person you are. Like for instance, money is not the greatest motivator to me. And I know there's a lot of other people out there like that. But I think in order to kind of make life a lot more equal for people, taxes should be higher for those earning more, or people who earn a lot more should have to participate more in communities or be responsible for a lot more things just because they're wealthy, they're knowledgeable. You don't just earn money like that, you earn it because you have some skill or talent, and they should be able to share that for free with those who can't gain access to it. So there's a lot more to things than just quantifying it via money, I think. When you look at kind of private ownership of industry or kind of state-run, government-run industry, I think the best example is probably the UK, which used to be a lot of industry was government-run and now is run by private firms. And it is better, I think. The companies face more competition, so that customers can kind of benefit from lower prices, and sort of businesses are allowed to expand and develop much more freely, and you kind of get better technology, better service, and everything that people really want from a company. But at the same time, there does have to be some sort of regulation. A company cannot just be allowed to run within its own rules. There has to be some boundaries. So maybe the best is some kind of half and half way. Company runs itself, but the government still regulates it, which does happen a lot in the UK. Companies are regulated, and it does seem to work, I think. Yeah. I think people who are in need or in receipt of kind of government support or just general support are there because of the flaws in society today. The modern society, in order to progress, someone has to be left behind. It's not necessarily the view I share, but it's the culture that we have in the developed world, or even in all countries now. And in order to progress, you have to leave some people behind. You can relate it to survival of the fittest, and now survival is defined by money and income and wealth. So in this country, yeah, it probably is seen like that. I don't necessarily feel it has to be that way. I think if, again, you could quantify people's happiness or equality in other ways other than money, and I think the whole system, it would be the other way around. But progress is defined by cash, and the more cash you have, the better off you are. And that's just the culture we live in. I think the second most important is probably luck. I think you do make a lot of your progress is made by luck. And sometimes when you are in need, it is because something has happened. There's nothing to do with you. Pure wrong place, wrong time. I mean, you look at now, the recession, a lot of the people who are losing jobs or unable to find jobs, they weren't the people who created that, but just unluckiness has caused them to lose their jobs or find themselves in difficulty. And you could just track that all the way through any sort of issues. And especially like health, if you fall ill, it's not your fault, it just happens. And it's the luck of what family you're brought into. If you're born into quite a well-off family, you'll probably be fine. But if you're born in a poor family, it's very difficult to progress. And it's just luck and chance. Yeah.